devotion for today is taken from Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1 to 12. Let's turn our Bible to Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1 to 12. Chapter 1 of Hebrews talks about God's greatness. It talks about how Jesus is exalted. Now, if you look at verse 1, it says that God spoke to our ancestors. So, what do we understand from that? We understand that God speaks to each and every one of us. It doesn't need to be like a friend sitting next to us and speaking to us. He speaks through different ways. So it can be a personal experience, that we understood how God is with us and how He has led us through that difficult situation. So it's a personal experience that helps us to understand that God is speaking to us. There's other variety of ways that God speaks to us. It can be through songs, it can be through dreams, it can be through parables, it can be through any historical events that we have, right? God also spoke through all His prophets in the past, like Moses. He spoke through a burning bush. He spoke to Elijah through a still small voice. He spoke to Isaiah through heavenly vision. He spoke to Hosea through family crisis. He spoke to Amos through a basket of fruit. So there are very different ways that God can speak to us, but He does speak to us. That's what we need to understand. And now He's speaking to us through His Son, Jesus Christ, right? So always remember, God speaks to us. Second, things that we can look in verse 2 and 3, it is saying how God is bragging about His Son, and it's saying the characteristics of Jesus in verses 2 and 3. Now, if you ask my dad, can you tell me some qualities of Pyari? So he is going to be thinking, is that really some of our good qualities? It might take him some time to think about all that, but not God. God, He's saying about His Son. When you look at how much God is bragging about His Son, there is no end to it. How much ever you say, there is no end to the goodness of Jesus Christ. So let's look at that. It says in verse 2 that He is the one through whom God created the universe. So what is that character? He is the creator, the one whom God has chosen to possess all things at the end. He is the heir to everything. He reflects the brightness of God's glory. He is the revealer. You don't see the sun, but you get the warmth of the sun. So Jesus is like that revealer who reveals the glory of God to us, right? He sustains the universe with His powerful word. So He is a sustainer. After achieving forgiveness for the sins of mankind, so He is a redeemer. He sat down in heaven at the right hand side of God. So He is the ruler and the supreme power. All these 7 characters are said in those 2 sentences about Jesus. So it tells us all His good characteristics. Nobody can ever match those characteristics. So that is why we need to understand Jesus is better than blank. Anything and everything in our life. We can say Jesus is better than my friends, Jesus is better than my family, Jesus is better than my health, Jesus is better than everything and anything in our life. And that is why we should set our eyes on Jesus more than anyone else. Okay, when we look to verses 4 and 5, what is God saying? Or the Son was made greater than the angels, just as the name that God gave Him is greater than theirs. So God is saying over here that there are many angels praising Him, glorifying Him, everything, but He's saying no one is given the title Son of God. So there is nobody who can match that title. You are my son. Today I have become your father. So He is telling that all the others are lesser than Him and Jesus is above everyone. So sometimes we have to understand, sometimes lesser things in our life take priority over Jesus. It can be our career, our entertainment, all these things gets bigger. So we should take that out. Those lesser things are not greater than Jesus. We should always give Jesus the priority in our life. So as we go to verses 6, we see that all God's angels must worship him. It is a command, must worship him. So can you imagine, the angels are given the command that they need to worship him. Did Jesus really die for the angels? No, he died for each and every one of us, right? So how much more should we give worship? How much more should we be commanded to worship him more than the angels for the great thing that he has done for us? So and as you go through that sentence, through the verses, you will see that angels belong to Jesus. So how much more do we really belong to Jesus? He rules over us, right? Jesus has sovereignty. He has authority over us. When another thing that we see over here is that Jesus is unchanging. When we get sick, what happens in 2 to 3 days? We drastically change. We change so much. We might be so weak, we can't get up. We drastically change from what we were 2-3 days ago when we get sick. But when you look at Jesus, it's saying even if everything goes away, the whole world goes away, everything comes to an end, it is saying Jesus will never change. So he remains forever. So this whole chapter is saying about how great our God is, and that is what we need to understand. I want to tell you one thing, that our God is a jealous God. He will not accept us to have anything more than him in our life. He doesn't like that. So remember that always. Give the most importance to God in your life. He is a jealous God, and he doesn't like anything to take priority over him. So in this Advent season, we need to realize that we need to understand the greatness of God in our life, give him the priority in our life, and praise him for all that he has done for us in our life. Let's keep that our priority. Let's remember that always. And God bless us all.